Okay, now we're going to go ahead and work on uh, just more fraction operations, and then we're going to get into a little bit of the things we covered in section 1.1. It's important to know, look at it, we're working on exercise 6 now, example 6, and they're asking us to write 3/4 or 3/4 as the equivalent fraction with 16 as the denominator. So we write 3/4 equals, because it's equivalent fraction, so it has to be equal, and they're saying 16 is our denominator, so we have an unknown up here. So to figure out the unknown, what we got to do is we got to see how do we get 4 into 16. Well, we just multiplied that by 4, right? 4 times 4 is 16. So the simple rule here is whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. 4 on top, 4 on bottom. And we know that 4 divided by 4 is just 1. So we're not even changing the value, we're just changing the way it looks. It's like saying $1 here versus, 20 nickels here. So it's the same amount, but it just looks different. So now we just go to finish this calculation. 3 times 4 is 12. So our equivalent fraction for 3/4 with 16 as the denominator is 12 over 16. And this is just a reverse reduction. We've reduced this to 3/4, and now this is just doing the opposite direction. Now we're going to go ahead and do addition and subtraction with different denominators. This violates the number one rule I mentioned about adding and subtraction fractions. They have to have the same denominator. So in order for these guys to get the same denominator, we have to do a little thinking. We have to say, okay, how can we get the bottom numbers the same? Well, we have to think of factors and multiples. So what we do is we start with usually the bigger one, and we say, okay, 5 times 1 is 5. Can 4 ever equal 5 with as a multiple? No. How about 5 times 2 is 10? Can we ever get 4 equal 10 with a multiple? No. How about 5 times 3, 15? Nope, 15 isn't divisible by 4. How about 5 times 4, which is 20? Hey, that kind of works because we know 5 times 4 is 20 and 4 times 5 is 20. So we'll go to make 20 our common denominator here. So let's go and rewrite this guy. We'll multiply 5 times 4. Let's put a times 4 here. And we got 1 times 4. Remember, what we do on the bottom, we have to do the top. And we'll go ahead and put an add addition sign here. And to get 20 over here, we have to multiply 4 times 5. It's very important to keep things in the same order. Now if we multiply by 5 on the bottom, we have to multiply by 5 on the top. So we get 3 times 5 on the top. And now we can just go ahead and calculate out. 1 times 4 is 4 over 5 times 4 is 20 is equal to 3 times 5 is 15. I'm sorry, it's not equals. It should be a plus. 3 times 5 is 15 over 4 times 5 is 20. Now we see they have the same denominator. That is good. So we know our answer is going to have that same denominator. And let's just add through. 4 plus 15 is 19. Does this reduce any further? No, it doesn't. So this is our final answer. Let's go do the same thing here. Let's think of multiples of 6. Does 4 go into 6? No. The next multiple of 6 is going to be 12. Does 4 go into 12? Yes. So that's good. So we're going to say 12 is going to be our common denominator. How do we get 12 from 4? Well, we say 4 times 3, right? If we multiply by 3 on the bottom, we have to multiply by 3 on the top. Plus, and how do we get 12 on the bottom over here? Multiply 6 times 2. Multiply by 2 on the bottom, we gotta multiply by 2 on the top. Let's go ahead and calculate this out. 3 times 3 is 9 over 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 times 2 is 2 over 6 times 2 is 12. We see we have a common denominator now. That's good, so we can perform our calculation. We know our answer is going to have that same denominator, which is 12. Now we just go 9 plus 2 is 11. Does this reduce any further? No, because they don't share any common factors, so this is our final answer. Now the same thing, but with good old mixed numbers. The first thing we always have to do is convert these into in proper fractions. Remember, a times here and a plus here. 15 times 2 is 30, plus 7 is 37 over 15, minus times and a plus. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9/5. Now again, we go ahead and look at the bigger one. Start with the bigger one. We start with multiples of 15. The first multiple is 15. Does 5 go into 15? Sure does. 3 times. So what we can do is we can say, okay, so 15 is going to be our common denominator. We've got 37 over 15 minus, now if we want 15 on the bottom over here, we've got to say 5 times 3. And if we multiply by 3 on the bottom, we've got to multiply by 3 on the top as well. So that's going to be 9 times 3. And that's going to equal 37 over 15 minus 9 times 3 is 27 over 15, because 5 times 3 is 15. 37 minus 27 is 10 over 15. Are we done? Nope. We see that 10 and 15 have a common factor of 5. So we divide both of these guys by 5. Divided by 5, just put a little note so we know. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So 2/3 is our final answer here. Okay, let's go into work in example 10. We're going to use prime factorization to find the least common denominator. So least common denominator helps us to really making our calculation really hard. And the way we can do that is we have to list out the factors of these guys. Again, because it's working on factorization. So if we look at the factors of 15, it's going to be 5 times 3. If we look at the factors of 24, it's going to be 8 times 3, which is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, because 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8 times 3. So these are going to be the factors that we'll be working with. So we found the all the prime factors. These are all prime numbers down here, all prime numbers right here. Now to use the prime factorization to find the least common denominator, what we got to do is we got to say, okay, over here on this side, on the 1/15th, we see we are missing the 8, or the 2 times 2 times 2, because it shares a 3, but we're missing the 8 over here. So we got to multiply 1/15 times 8 on top and 8 on the bottom. And then we have a plus there. And we see over here on the 7/24, what we're missing, we have a 3, we share the 3, but we don't have the 5 over here, so we're going to be missing the 5. So we have to say 7/24 times 5 on the top and a 5 on the bottom. Now we're going to compute that out. 1 times 8 is 8. 15 times 8 is 120. Plus 7 times 5 is 35. And 24 times 5 is also 120. So now we have a common denominator. We can go ahead and perform our calculation. 8 plus, we know our answer is going to have a denominator of 120. And 8 plus 35 is going to be 43. And this doesn't reduce any further, so this is our answer. So our time is almost up. We almost have 10 minutes. I'm going to stop and start exercise 11 on the next lesson.